Do you ever feel like politics is all just people shouting and game playing? Order! Do you ever feel like it's not about you or where you live or the things that affect you, even in potentially the most important election we'll ever have? Well, us too. So we reckon this is the show for you. We promise it's not always going to be about these guys, and we swear it's not going to revolve around Brexit. Welcome to This Matters, a brand new election show from BBC News. For a lot of people, climate change is the most important issue facing the country. Concern for the environment has gone mainstream. Look at Greta Thunberg.
We cannot continue to look away from this crisis anymore.
She's a celebrity. She's friends with Leonardo DiCaprio. And Jane Fonda's out getting herself arrested at climate protests now. And if you look at the polls for voter priorities, it's jumped right up the list in the last few years. It's something the Green Party has built itself on.
The green wave is sweeping the globe and it has been cascading across Britain with our two best ever election results in Green Party history.
And other parties are also trying to muscle in.
A country that leads the way with clean green technology.
The climate emergency is an existential threat.
Scotland will be a net zero emissions nation.
To tackle the climate emergency.
Not having a climate change policy could be a political liability. Not all the parties' manifestos are out yet, so we don't know their policies in detail, but they're already making moves to prove they care about the environment. This week, the government banned fracking, a kind of gas mining that can cause minor earthquakes. That's a change of tune from a government whose Prime Minister once wrote, "Let's leave no stone unfracked." And Jeremy Corbyn thinks the timing of the fracking ban is a bit too convenient.
I think it sounds like fracking would come back on the 13th of December if they were elected back into office. Seems to me like an election stunt.
OK, let's forget what they've all said in the past. What are the parties saying now?
We're seeing an election race to go green of a kind I've just never seen before.
How do you go to the loo in the Arctic?
For the last 15 years, David has been reporting on climate change from all over the world.
What this is all about is how rapidly the country should reduce its carbon emissions down to effectively zero. The Green Party want to do that by 2030 and spend £100 billion a year doing it. The Conservatives say their target date of 2050 is much more realistic. But Labour, SNP, Lib Dems and others say that's way too late. They want to act much more rapidly. The Brexit Party hasn't come up with a policy yet.
So all the major parties are fighting to be the political green giant. But actions speak louder than words, so let's have a look at the data we actually have. The Guardian did a study and gave each MP a score on how they voted in Parliament on climate issues. Each dot represents an MP's voting record. The Guardian's findings say the Conservatives, in blue, generally voted against pro-climate issues, getting worse scores, they say, than other parties. That being said, Lib Dem leader Jo Swinson's score was 50%, even though the Lib Dems have criticised the Tories for not taking climate change seriously. It's sometimes hard to see the effects of climate change happening in front of you, especially in the UK. But in certain places, it's getting real. Take Wales, where sea levels will be up 20 centimetres by 2050. This is Fairborn, where those rising sea levels could cause the UK's first climate refugees. Its sea defences are only going to last a few more decades, so by 2050, the village is going to be abandoned.
To decommission the village, you're going to have to take my house and my land.
This is Sylvia Stevenson, one of the village residents.
Unless they start to look at climate adaptation rather than climate change, I don't think we are really going to move forward. The Welsh Government, like other governments, have got to start treating it as climate adaptation.
So unsurprisingly, the people in Fairborn are seriously concerned. But is the rest of Wales?
You've got the Welsh Government declaring a climate emergency. Obviously, they're taking it very seriously. It's high up on their agenda and they think it's important to voters. We get lots of really bad weather here in Wales, unfortunately, lots of storms, rain, flooding, high winds. So that's obviously a concern, a really pressing concern for people. But on the other hand, I really don't get the feeling when I chat to people that it's the most pressing issue or one of the big things that they're worried about. It's more of an issue for young people, definitely, but Brexit is still the main thing that people feel frustrated about, I would say, at the moment.
Bye to Larry. When we were looking into this, we found an interesting poll. It's an age thing. 45% of 18 to 24-year-olds put the environment as their second biggest concern after Brexit. It's probably part of the Greta effect again.
How dare you! You have stolen my dreams and my childhood.
We're always told that youths aren't engaged in politics. But in the last election, it's thought that young people turned out to vote in the biggest numbers in 25 years. So it makes sense that the parties are making big green promises to chase them. So it's the Brexit bit now, isn't it? Right, I know we got this far without mentioning the B word, but while we're still a member of the EU, we have to abide by EU laws and regulations on things like carbon emissions. But after we leave, it'll throw this whole climate conversation up in the air, good or bad. Some more unanswered questions around Brexit, just what we all needed. And after all that, is this the first climate election? Hard to say, but this is definitely the most prominent it's ever been as an issue. Next time, will you tell us what to look into by leaving a comment below? See ya.